Hello, welcome everyone. Today we are discussing for ethics classes, business ethics classes. Today we are discussing about chapter 4. We are using a 2024 McGraw-Hill book called Business Ethics in Canada, Responsibility, Equity and Sustainability. This is owned by Sakti, Christian Price in terms of public the authors, okay? Again, this is owned by McGraw-Hill 2024. Let's start this class, okay? The first one, there's quite about five learning objective here. Identify stakeholders as the right stakeholders. Number two, identify ethical issue. Number three, practice the stakeholder analysis. Number four is practice issue analysis. Number five, identify ways to collaborate with partners, with stakeholders, and right stakeholders to mitigate any ethical issue and crisis. Okay. What are the stakeholder stakeholders? Stakeholders are individual or group who can influence or influenced by the achievement of organization purposes. What is the right holder? Is an individual group or ecosystem that holds legal and inherent rights to protection, respect, and remedy. What are the stakeholders? Number five is identify. Let me just repeat: identify ways to collaborate and further stakeholders and right holders to mitigate ethical issue and crisis. Okay, let's go back again. The stakeholders management is the process by which an organization or identified response to stakeholder action and interests and rights. Okay, guys. So there's a stakeholders, there's a right holders, and the stakeholder management. It has each definition has its each term has its own definitions. That's the key part. Okay, let's just leave it the next chapter here. The core questions that you need to ask. Who are our stakeholders? What are their stake interests and issues? What are their responsibilities in terms of economic to legal as well as ethical and philanthropic? Does our firm have to have to all its stakeholders? Number four, what are the opportunity challenges presented in our firm? And then number five, what are the strategies or actions should the firm take to best deal with the stakeholder challenges? And then identify and covering the stakeholders primary or secondary. Primary is the employees or unions, stakeholders, creditors, suppliers, customers, competitors, wholesalers, and retailers. That's the primary. Number two, secondary, which is local communities, governments, social activities, group, media, business support groups, external publics as well. Stakeholders involvement shift over time and varies among organizations. Okay. Identifying and counting stakeholders, external or internal. The external will be like owners, associates, employee association, the public as well as directors. The internal will be like the CEO, line managers, operators, analysts of the technostructure, support staff, and ideology. Conceptualize the power within around organizations, but less useful to say as a whole. That's the key part. Categories isn't that easy for the owners, okay? And then identify the carrying stakeholders, the normative and directive, the two definitions here. The normative is those to whom the organization has an organization and stakeholders from whom the organization has valid accepted the benefits, such as financiers, employee, consumers, suppliers, and the local community. For the derivative are those from whom the organization has not accepted the benefit, but they hold power over the organization and may exert either the beneficial or harmful influence, such as NGO and competitors. Okay. The mapping of the stakeholders. This is organization. There's the internal here. It mostly of the internal from management, direct management, functional, loans, lenders, owners, customer, employees. So here, management, lenders, owners, customer, employees. These are the internal. The external, like environments, suppliers, media, competitors, community, NGO, and government. So this is the organization purpose in terms of the chart. Excuse me for a while. Let me just grab a sip of water. All right, let's continue here. The UN Guiding Principle on Business and Human Rights ensign business responsibility to protect humans and human rights abuses, conduct due diligence to avoid infringing on the respect of human rights, and to provide effective remedies for violation of human rights. And an environmental personhood, right of personhood attributed to ecosystem, emerging from climate crisis and environmental degradations. Recognized right holdership, they are owners as well as directors. There's the difference here. Owners, which is the shareholders, those individual or group who have invested in the form of financial equity and shares. Board of directors who are elected to demand the corporation strategization, monitor and review the corporation performance, and hire and fire top executive. Also applicable to NGOs such as charities, sector council, industry association, and cooperatives. Rights stem from various legislative acts. Again, employees are individuals who work on a negotiation such as contract, casual, part-time, full-time. Okay, this is the right to draw from labor standard and collective agreement, policy and procedure. These are the employees. Okay, so you need to understand the different right of ownership such as employees, managers, and unions. That's the key. Now we're talking after the employees. We're going to talk about the managers. Employees usually involved in supervising tasks such as low management, middle, or top level. It is the right similar to employee, but often not unionized. Unions, however, is represent the non-government, uh, non-management employees and exist to protect the rights of the workers. It contribute to the improve or enhance wages such as job security, workplace safety, health, wellness, benefits and grievances, and resolution and pension. And then you have an employees resource group, internal committees of workers who share the identities and interests, mandate to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, and access to co-design processes. Customers, who are the customers? They are customer, clients, and consumers, the three C's here, okay? Customer is a member of the public, other organization, industrial, B2B can be, government or government agency. That's the customer. Customer can be taken for granted in terms of monopolistic situations. A good example of monopolistic will be like LCBO in this part of the world, or beer store. Lack of the market competitions, there's a good example such as in the industry of the cell phone here in Canada. We have the three amigos here, Bell, Telus, and Rogers are the three players that dominate the Canadian market. And okay, that's why one, that's why customer paying high prices as compared to the other part of the world. Producers of sovereignty situations, there's another key issue. Customers starting to seek ethical and socially responsible options from other organizations. Okay. Recognize shareholdership such as lender, creditors, and suppliers. How are they? Lenders and creditors, prior to claim to asset, they have a long-term bond, short-terms. Long-term will be bonds, short-term will be like trade creditors. And then we also have a venture capitalists. And then you have the suppliers, other organizations that provide raw materials and components, part, finished materials used in manufacturing provision of goods and services. Influence depend on available of alternatives. I remember when I was working for Nomura, Japanese, most of the Japanese firm is based on their supplier very heavily. They have the Zaibatsu connection, they call it in Japanese style. In Chinese, they call it Guangxi. It's the connection between of suppliers to provide uh, parts and supply the manufacturing. So, like Sumitomo supplying has many connection with some of the major auto manufacturer, one of those area, okay? And then dealers, distributor, franchise, part of organization, competitive firm that sells some product, organization produce substitute product. Considering both existing and potential future competitors, be aware of the fair competition regulations, okay? And then we have the NGO. What is NGO? Any group outside of the public and private sector that holds your value of attitudes about an issue in concerning society. It is non-profit with volunteer network. Example is United Way is one of those areas. That is also part of non-profit sector. And then Habitat for Humanity is one of those areas. And then SPCA for the animals. That's a good example. And then we have a food bank. That's a good one of those things. Society at large, hard to develop view of stakeholders. Express concern for energy conservation but purchase high fuel consumption vehicle lifelong distance from work. Okay. Local communities, neighborhood groups, resident interest group organization, business association who are interest concerned with organized operations. Organizations can benefit from enhanced decision making, legitimacy, and competitiveness via access to local knowledge, reduction in conflicts, equipment in local talent, and financial capital. For indigenous people, there's a good example. It's a special constitutional relation with Canada because they are the original owner of the land of this country. Okay, Aboriginal indigenous group are the original owner of this Canada, this country. Okay, so they have a special right protected through treaties and land claim agreement, constitutional rights, supreme and interior court ruling, human rights, and inherent rights. Okay, over 650 recognized indigenous community in Canada. Okay, and then there's two constitutional act. These are the law that recognize them. And then United Nations, all people have the inherent right to self-determination. Okay, many national, international law as well. United Nations, the UN Declaration of the Right Indigenous People. Canada opposed, but again, actually, finally, when they prior to informed consent. So there's a lot of struggle to get this recognized before. So we have to respect the rights of the indigenous people. If you go to like in my part of the world, if you go to the Haldiman country, Brain country, there's a lot of Mohawk area there. They have a special right. They can sell tobacco with no taxes. Okay, and then they can set up gambling as well to get their revenues for their people. And then the judicial institution and media, education institution rely upon to provide organization with educated and skilled employees, the media such as news, media publicity, and then media release in terms of public relations. Okay. Government, a governing body of a nation, state of community in Canada, we have local, provincial, territorial, and federal. Local, for example, like in my place will be Burlington. They have their own bylaw. Provincial, like Ontario. Territorial will be like southern or northern part of Canada or middle part of Canada, and then we have the East First Nation, Métis Nation, Inuit Nation. Okay, have their own governing body, and then self-governments such as agency in terms of business and financial institution related to any political parties and legal party system. Here in Canada, we have a number of political parties from Conservative, Liberal, NDP, and the Green Party. There's four of them. In the U.S., we only have two: Democrat or Republican. Okay. Distinction of environment as stakeholders, party of management, and other stakeholders versus stakeholders must have a voice. Anthropometric. Okay. Ecosystem have gained environmental personhood such as Indonesia or Quebec, Congo River of New Zealand, Upper River, Ecuador. Okay. And then the issue point here in the ethical issue, identification analysis of ethical issue, the key part is a question or matter that is dispute where different views are held. What is or what ought to be within the purview or purpose of business. Performance based on management or stakeholder expectation. The common issue will be like pollution, harassment, health, and unethical investments. Okay. All right. In terms of one expanded definition issue here, controversial inconsistency based on one or more expectation gap involving management perception of changing liability on other shareholders' perception of changing costs and benefits positions occur with or between view of what is and what ought to be in terms of business performance of stakeholders, okay, perception of business performance imply an actual anticipatory solution that creates significant identifiable present or future impact of the organization. As this is a typical life cycle, issue life cycle here. The low one, the horizontal will be time t to t5. Okay, none or little, increasing prominent, peak and declining time. Then degree of awareness all the way here. Okay. The issue on the life cycle, T1 means keep an eye on an emergent issue, T2 means awareness increases, T3 means issue cannot be ignored, T4 means issue peak, potential crisis, okay? And again, usually playing defense and seeking arrangement, T5 may not be source of leaders because the awareness may not decline, okay? What is the issue cycle? We're going to discuss in detail. In pair T1, early identification of the issue with any of this is important. Terms of debate cannot yet be clearly defined. One of the actors will define the emerging issue and make it current issue. It deals with matters of conflict of values as well as interests. It is a problem, not expert knowledge that will automatically be able to resolve. It is stated in value-laden terms and the trade-off are possible. Okay. Let's continue with period 2. T2 is awareness increase, perhaps due to media such as NGO. And then you have also what we call the likely no response formulated yet, government also reactive, and then for uncertainty also unclear at this time for the T2 part. Okay, for period T3, issue cannot be ignored, responses widely discussed, and stances taken government is inactive. All stakeholders recognize the importance of the implications. Okay, next one. That's from T2 and T3. Then further discussed with T4. T4 means issue peaks. There's potential crisis. Organization playing a defense, NGO seeking settlements, and government being proactive. 45 may not be source of release because issue may not be declined. Okay, let's continue in terms of issue materiality. Issue materiality sustainability is a question of whether there is sufficient importance to warrant management attention. Okay, reflects an organization's economic, environmental, and social impact, substances influence on assessment and decision stakeholders. Okay, material allows focus on economic, ethical, social, environmental, and financial impact. Okay, that's the key part. In this issue mathematics, you can see there's no importance here, some importance here, some importance there, and very important at the top here. Okay, in terms important issue of business cooperation is from 2.5, 5.0, 7.0 to 10. Okay, the importance of stakeholders involved. Good example. If last time I see one of the bank in Canada they have a problem with their web banking system that's disrupted everywhere. That's a very important issue. Okay, not only key but they impacted a lot of shareholders and customers. Okay, that's one of the great issue. Okay, let's go back here. We have done that one. Let's continue. Identifying issues, research existing emergency trends using industrial publication, media, and public policy pre-announcements. You can do a survey as well for internal and external stakeholders, do a roundtable online forum, and do a monitoring collaboration with other with other stakeholders, especially the NGOs. Okay. In terms of the ranking of the issues, we're gonna put here. Here it is. Priority management here, number one. Number two will be the next priority of the management. Number three will be little of influence to stakeholder. Example, issue like the web banking get hacked or any cannot be accessed by a customer. That's a very priority issue. Okay. The next priority, for example, is updating the phone system. That's another second one. Okay. Little of important or stakeholders is that something like much smaller things from paperless from paper reporting to paperless reporting. So that's a much smaller issue. Stakeholders analysis, salience. Salience is the degree. What is salience mean? The degree to which manager give priority to committing stakeholders claim. Okay, based on the power exercise the relationship among social actors in A can get B to do something that B would not be otherwise to do, based on force, incentive, symbolic influence. Okay, this is a power type of thing. Legitimacy, generalized perception, entity action are desirable within society. Society constructs a system of norm, values, belief, and definition based on the individual, organization, or society. And then urgency, the degree to which the stakeholder claim or relation call for immediate action. People with the ethical treatment, example, PETA silence. Excuse me, let me just get a sip of water. People with ethical treatment of animal work to discourage milk consumption. So this is let's say stakeholder with PETA, milk sucks campaign through media. Conclusion is low. Legitimacy, the conclusion is low. Urgency, the conclusion medium. Okay, PETA. Another good example of the PETA is the fur, the use of fur or the skin to use for the jacket. That's one of the ethical treatment that being campaigned by PETA. Okay, but the conclusion will be what low and medium because not still people still use them. Okay, could be is different in other places, but majority is maybe quite low to medium. The stakeholders analysis of mapping. This is what you're going to do. It is based on technique categorizing the organization stakeholders by influencing two variables, okay, and usually involve plotting them on 2x2 matrix. This is using much more like a graphics and charts. Vertical axis based on stakeholder assess, and the horizontal axis based on the important stakeholders. Okay, it can vary. Other variables possible. Okay, just of interest. Okay, let's look at the important matrix. This is a good example of it. Okay, importance, low priority, antagonistic here, problematic here, supporter here. Okay, this is one of the things. In the position important matrix here, problematics, opposed course of action, relative unimportant, such as example in the project educational programs, adjust operational plan, to accommodate stakeholders and prepare defensive plans against stakeholder coalitions. Antagonistic, opposed, or hostile to cause of action, and very important, identify coalition and take actions. Prepare undermining supporter, anticipate objection, develop counter arguments, bargaining with the key shareholders. Plan needed changes. The priority is to support course of action, relative and important, to provide educational programs such as promote involvement supporter. Supporter is to support course of action are important. Provide information to reinforce position and ask supporter to influence the different stakeholders. Okay, resource dependence. In terms of stakeholders influence strategies, resource dependence exists when stakeholders is supplying resources and can exert some form of control over it due to amount of resource control, non-sustainability of resources, essential of the resources. Okay, influence strategy will depend on the type of resource control, such as withholding and usage, type of influence pathways such as direct or indirect. And then withholding strategy, stakeholders discontinue providing a resource to an organization with the intention of changing a certain behavior. This is in terms of resource control, okay? And usage strategy, stakeholders continue to supply resources, but specify how it will be used. That is attached to the condition and the use of resources. More likely to be used when collaboration and partnership are emerging, okay? Depends on the kind of strategies. In terms of influencing strategies, doing a direct strategies, the stakeholders is to manipulate the flow of resources by withholding or to the usage conditions. In direct strategies, stakeholders work through an ally, having the ally manipulated the flow of resources by withholding or to the use of the conditions. Indirect strategies require substantial communication and cooperation between stakeholders and this hard situation. Good example and the direct strategies in Indonesia. There's called noodle factory called Supermi. It has source its flour come from Indo Group. So in order to take over the company, the Indo Group is put a hold on the flour supplying. So that's a good start. One of the strategy has been used in the past and has been successful in Indonesia there. And then stakeholder influence strategies, indirect influence, holding strategies, stakeholders not dependent on the organization, is dependent on how the stakeholders are. Such is low interdependence. The user's strategy for this indirect influence, stakeholder dependent on the organization, but the organization not dependent on the stakeholder. Only has the power over stakeholders. Okay, the direct influence using a boycott. This is a good example. Boycott. Okay, stakeholders not depend on negotiation, but the negotiation is dependent on the stakeholders. So examples boycott here. Use the strategy. Example here, KFC requiring supply to provide humanly raised chicken. That's the key part. Okay, direct influence. So this is the typical influence strategy in the mining. In the mining industry, low interdependence, environment enjoy, religious organization, education institution, form supply apostles such as supplies, employees, charities, professions, and charities. As stakeholders also government, regulations, customer, and medias, like withholding, as you have owners, business, and local just indirect strategies. Okay. So issue management, some issues are particularly complex and interconnected, such as climate, biodiversity, including wealth distribution, food insecurity, discrimination power, and poverty. Issue management is a systemic process by which an organization can identify and evaluate and respond to the economic and social environmental issues that may impact upon it. So issue management process here, that's identification of issue, analysis of issues, banking of pricing issue, formulating issue responses, implementing issue response, and mounting developing issue responses. The purpose of issue management is to minimize surprises such as early warning system, and then help managers to anticipate changes in with oversight, try to assess, coordinate, and integrate issues across the organizations. The benefits will be to help maintain competitive advantage, organization behavior aligned with social expectations, organizations less likely to make serious social ethical mistake. Top management must support condition of the issue management here. Top management must support and be involved. Broad participation required in at operation at staff level, co-designing remedies with stakeholders as well. And then issue management need to be adapted with culture management and the dynamics of the organization. Decision need also to be made and avoid analysis paralysis. In terms of crisis management, sometimes issue become crisis, even occur rarely and infrequently, but can severely have catastrophic consequences for stakeholders. okay, such as industrial accidents, product failures, product recall, technology failures, hostile takeover, malicious rumors, media leaks, natural disaster, environmental problems. These are the key on the crisis management. What are the things? Crisis. Example, this is a thing atomic of crisis. Crisis turning point at a crucial time and the system has reached a critical point. Crisis management an approach involving planning and reviewing risks and uncertainty, allowing organizations to achieve more control over the event. So this is an example from proto crisis into acute crisis into chronic crisis and final kind of solution. That's the key part here. Okay, continue here. Prodromal is again receive warning or symptom appear even if it's subtle. Acute means crisis has occurred and damage has resulted. Chronic means a cleanup. Pros mounting phase. Rosal means the organization has recovered from the damage crisis. In terms of crisis management 101, plan for invest in the crisis management approaches. Communication is the key. Honesty and empathy, use information, justice, and are strong. Building trust. Apologies should be timely, sincere, assume responsibility, not blame others, and shouldn't be limited to possible consequences. Okay. Stakeholder collaboration approach differ from management approach because they are reciprocal, evolving, and mutually defined as a source of opportunity and competitive advantage. There are also collaboration, which is a meta capability to establish and maintain long-term relationship and achieve business goal that allows the organization to tap into powerful source of creative energy and large pool of innovative idea and wider network. This is in terms of fostering relationship, from creating a foundation, organizational alignment, strategic development, trust building, evaluation, repeat. Okay, these are the key for your fostering relationship, and each has its own description there. And then in the fostering relationship, the framework, like creating a foundation, again continue here step by step, and then repeat the process, creating a foundation, organizational alignment, again strategy development, trust building, evaluation, and repeat process. This is in the relationship. Then we continue in terms of stakeholders engagement approach, from employees, customers. For employees, what do? You do a town hall meeting. So I remember at BMO we always do. At BMO and RSA and Travels Canada, we always have a town hall meeting. Customers, you do a teleconference, survey audit, scorecard, corporate project, academia, working groups, survey, research project, consortia, meeting with working groups, government, with local government regulation, investor, doing a survey, NGO, face-to-face meeting, supplier like email to our conference. Okay, guys? So that is the engagement approach for each stakeholders there. And then look at the summary here. Summary 4.1, stakeholder is individual, can be group, and have the same interest of the business system. Okay. Again, despite the wide views of the stakeholders consideration, it is not usually accepted as legitimate. However, most managers believe that stakeholder concept is a systematic approach to understanding and responding to various influence in the corporation and management. Objective number 2, issue will always involve stakeholders and their appropriate identity management is important. Issue maturity analysis has logically connection to stakeholder analysis. Okay, and then so number 3, there's about 3 points here. The science stakeholder typically increase the complexity of analysis by using 3 attributes in assessing the importance. Okay, using power, agility, and urgency. And then there's various stakeholder matrix mapping methodology that give managers a practical approach in assessing the influence of the stakeholders. And then influence strategy provide another perspective as well. Number 4, issue management step identification using analysis, ranking, and response formation, implementation, and monitoring evaluation. There are also some issues lead to crisis and response must be timely and comprehensive. Number 5, most sophisticated approach to understanding is through collaboration and engagement. So that's basically conclude this chapter. This is quite a long chapter actually. It's about 58 pages. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and then I'm gonna put this in YouTube as well, puzzle for your interactive learning. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.